Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to the one-shot double feature from the subreddit HFY. Both of these stories have been written by LgFatherAnthrocite. The link to the originals will be down below. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Trouble with customs. I never tried to hide anything. Go ask that four-armed guy. I tried to tell him I needed to go through inspection, but he told me to get in line like everyone else. Maurice Klept, Chief Customs Officer of the Belagain Space Station Gulthru, looked at the fleshy beige alien in front of her. She signaled to her aide, who left the room. I understand why you would need a collection of Class 3 restricted edge weapons, she began. The creature chirped, Tools! Class 3 restricted tools, and you have documentation permitting you to carry them. What worries me is that you also have this. She thumbed up a small case at the edge of a desk of the foreclaw. Those are part of my toolkit. I can't work without them, said the creature. Maurice turned to the terminal on her desk and checked on the search results. They were still compiling. What could you possibly need with a vial full of poison? Much less 4. And don't get me started on the 6 controlled substances, and quite frankly, I don't trust the rest of the stuff that you have in here either. There's a whole bottle of acid in there. The creature was preparing to respond when the door opened and the aide with four-arms customs officer walked in. Ah, Quixel, come in, said Maurice. Sit down, please. Maurice waved towards the open chair. Quixel nodded and moved to sit. Maurice's aide stood in the corner, out of the way. Quixel, did this being approach you outside of customs? Maurice asked. Quixel looked at the beige alien. Yes, sir, it said that it needed to go through inspection, but it had not yet gone through screening. I told it that inspection was past screening, and it would need to get screened first. Then it said, okay, and got in line. When the scanners went off, what did it do? Asked Maurice. Lay on the floor with all its limbs extended face down. Did it resist at all? No, sir. Thank you, Quexel. Please return to your post. The large alien stood, nodded to the officer behind the desk, and left the room. Maurice's assistant stayed in the corner, waiting in case there was some more inference that needed to be run. The terminal pinged, and Maurice tapped a few keys with a claw. She consulted the paperwork the alien was carrying, and she checked every item on it against a screen. You come from a death world, don't you? She asked, after confirming all the paperwork. That's what they tell me, said the creature, moving its head up and down. It was Maurice's assumed was a gesture of agreement. Very well, you are free to go. Please observe the greatest caution with the supplies you have. If I may ask you, sir, are you a Kremlin? The creature asked. It stood and began to gather its tools and bags. Yes, I am. Why do you ask? Maurice replied. You eating sheng nut paste a lot? I do. It's my favorite. And my mate's. Next time you make it, add a little sprinkle of Sean root, just a couple grams. Thank the gentle beings. Good day. The creature left the office. Maurice Klept and her mate Brev were making sheng nut paste, a favorite pastime of the couple. When Brev wasn't looking, Maurice sprinkled a few grams of Sean root. When they sat to eat, Maurice informed Brev that she had altered the recipe, and asked that he give his honest opinion. Brev placed a small ball of paste in his mouth and chewed. It's great! What did you do? He asked quickly, rolling it over a second ball of paste. Sean root, just a couple grams, Maurice replied, rolling her own ball. Who taught you that? Rev asked. A human chef, of all beings. I was shocked he even knew about the sheng nut paste, much less how to make it better. Considering their diet of those people, I'm surprised that he would even try sheng nut paste. You took a cooking tip from a death welder, Bev asked, the foreclaw stopping halfway to his mouth. He looked suspiciously at the small ball of paste. She chittered at his reaction. She popped the ball into her mouth and said human chefs consider cooking an art, and they would never do anything to purposely hurt someone with food. Humans have many strange customs. End of story 1. Recreational activity. The couple sat in the room, totally relaxed and smiling. They had clearly been through this before. Barrett knew that he was dealing with a couple of professionals. He went over the itemized list of equipment and inspectors had found. A cutting tool with a long fiberglass handle, a dozen metal spikes, several small containers of liquid combustibles, trioxine cubes, several small folding blades, a packet of compressed chemical tablets, enough preserved food to spend weeks in the hiding, then some sort of portable collapsible shelter, rope. Lerret was certain that these two were up to something. He was relatively certain that they were planning to cause some sort of trouble, possibly assassinate someone, and then flee into the forest here in the Geralt Prime to avoid capture. The forest of Geralt Prime was a vast continent spanning an ecological reserve. They were mostly unexplored and only minimally mapped out. Lerret signaled the guard at the door, who unlocked and opened it. Lerret walked into the room and with the two of these assassins. He was careful to not show him his back, and they were probably skilled in close quarters hand-to-hand combat. Lerret sat down opposite them at the table. He made a show of placing photos of their equipment on the table. They remained calm and smiling as Lerret finished situating himself at the table. "Who is your target?" Lerret asked. The two creatures began to make strange battling sounds. Lerret sat back, afraid the noise might signal a start of some attack. The guard outside looked through the glass to make sure that everything was okay. "Look," said the larger of the two, "we came here to camp in the forest of Geralt Prime. We heard the place was totally unmapped. We wanted to go check it out." The large alien started to bare its fangs, a gesture that repulsed Lerret. "If you're here to explore the forest, where is the rest of your equipment?" Lerret countered that the suggestion that they would go explore a continent-spanning forest with only a few tools, it would take much more equipment to properly measure and mail the terrain and the forest. "We aren't going to go too far into the woods, just a few miles. The compad and my pack should be able to get us back to the city when we're done. Actually, if you bring me my compad, I can show you the pictures of our last vacation." The smaller creature was speaking this time. Its voice was a higher pitch than the partner. Lerret gestured to the guard, who stuck in his head, and Lerret requested the compad. The guard nodded and left the room. Lerret was sure that it was a ploy, but he was determined to make sense of it all. "If you are here for recreation, why do you bring weapons?" Lerret asked. He pushed forward a couple photos on the table. "Those aren't weapons. Those are tools. The hatchet is good for cutting wood, and the pocket knives are handy for all kinds of stuff. Stripping small branches from the stick, slicing food, chopping rope," said the smaller one. "What of the liquid fuel?" "It's for our camp stove. We cook with it." The larger one spoke. "These metal spikes?" asked Lerret. "Stakes to hold down our tent in the wind. These are fire cubes, water purification tablets, so that we can safely drink the water we find. A tent, preserved food, and a rope," said the smaller one, pointing out each item in the photos and naming it. The guard opened the door and handed Lerret the compad. He laid it on the table, and the smaller creature entered the security code and then called up the stored images on the device. There were hundreds of images of the two aliens surrounded by trees, in smaller watercraft on rivers and lakes, climbing up rocky escarpments. "That's Yellowstone on Earth," said the larger one. There was a picture of them in a valley full of enormous crystal spikes, in a cave with more crystal formations, and swimming in an underground lake bordered by stone and crystal. "Hippic 7's Crystal Valley. That place was amazing," said the smaller one. The picture showing them hanging from some sort of harness high in the air, suspended over a deep valley, zip-lining across the Dunbar Canyon in Cygnus. The larger one bared its teeth to the smaller one, and the smaller one took the larger one's hand, bearing its teeth back. Lerret gathered his documents and took the compad back, then left the room. He needed to confirm a few things. After a few minutes of research, he discovered that humans, the name of the two creatures' species, were notorious for spending time living in primitive conditions as a form of recreation. There were several worlds that had started to cater to this strange habit. Lerret was confused and uncertain when another customs guard came in and informed him that the latest shuttle had 3 more groups on it, all with similar equipment. Lerret sighed. Who would want to go and live in the woods? End of story 2. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways to do so, listed in the description down below. The easiest and best way would be to share this video and my channel as much as possible. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that you have a good one until then. Cheers. P.S. With all the changes in YouTube recently, it has become more a case of when my account will get banned rather than if my account will be banned, the same as everyone else. If you look down below, there is a link to my SoundCloud account where everything gets backed up. I recommend that you follow that account just in case something happens to this account. Other than that, everything will still continue as normal. Thanks. Cheers.